Let's get real. All countries produce fake statistics. They want to make their country look better than it is. The politicians and bankers collude together to take our money, lose it, and then have the audacity to tell us that we need to hand over more. It's pretty funny until they come back a few years later doing it all over again. Fake stats are used because everything is contrived. Everything is a bunch of knockoffs of something that used to be the real thing. You came here for the truth. Let's get into this today, talking about China and then connecting that into a few other issues, beginning with China's exports. You could see right here that it seemed like there was going to be a recovery. However, things have taken a turn for the worse. The first part of the recovery seems like it will be an actual recovery, and then essentially it tapers off. Euro-dollar expansion pushes China's economic miracle. And I would show you a few things here today that will perhaps change your mind on what has happened in China. I'm not suggesting that China isn't going to grow in the future. You can expect China to grow. That's a fact. They are just positioned well enough. However, there are going to be many bumps along the way. I do see, however, their appetite for commodities, their ability to export, their opening and expansion of the markets, and the actual movement of individuals from the rural areas into the cities. These are all bullish for China in the long term. But you can see that this economic expansion that has taken place has run out of gas to some degree. More so, though, than let's compare that to, for example, Europe. They're obviously growing better than Europe is, perhaps for the foreseeable future. But it doesn't mean that China's on its own scale isn't suffering to some degree. Look at this. There are many ghost cities within China that are either completely empty or they have some people there, but the scale of the city compared to the actual population of it is just completely out of whack. And so what I would suggest you do is go to YouTube. I'll put these links in the description if you'd like. However, just go to YouTube and type in Ghost Cities, China, and you will get the video. Don't look for the pictures, just look for the video, and you could see people actually walking around with their camera and showing you around. Some of them that have been claimed to be ghost cities are not in fact ghost cities. You can see there's, quite a few people there. I do believe that they're expecting a lot more, perhaps, triple or quadruple the amount of people that are currently there, but there's people there. It's not completely empty. However, there are some cities that are empty, and you can see these people walking around. They're literally like opening up houses and walking inside and businesses and things. So check that out on YouTube for sure. And I think it's very important. These are the different ones, just a couple different videos you can see for yourself. I've seen people literally walking into houses that are just abandoned. You could see the construction that was abandoned. Literally looked like they were just kicked off the job and that's it. They were told to go home and never came back, right in the middle of some construction efforts. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. I do, however, believe it'll take quite a long time for these empty cities to fill up. Look at just situations like the massive subdivisions that were created in areas of Nevada, outside of Las Vegas. You can see that. Look at the serious vacancy rates that are in Florida. There's a tip for you, by the way, if you want to know if they are perhaps headed for a real estate crash in the US, you can look to Florida. Florida is always seen as an indicator because it's typically recognized as being a vacation place. So people are going to sell or walk away from their home in Florida prior to their main home, or maybe they live out of the country or what have you. But you can see that. That is a fact. So this whole article here, I won't talk to you completely about it, but essentially this is discussing the fake numbers that are coming out of China. And then they go through the fact, this is the Financial Times, going through the fact that, yes, they had one confirmed area of China that was faking their numbers. They suggested, yes, this is a fact. We do this. We've been doing this for years, and we've been boosting the numbers. However, upon closer inspection, you can see that actually it's more than just one area, and the Financial Times covers that here. I think it's important because of the fact that we're told consistently that China is never going to receive what we had in Europe and in North America and other places. I simply don't agree with that, and this is really telling to show that admittedly they are faking the numbers. They fake the numbers everywhere. We know that about the US, we know that about Europe, and now we have the same situation admitted in China. So it was expected to happen like this, but they will not support taking up the bill repealing and replacing Obamacare. Effectively, they blocked the legislation. The Republicans in the Senate are well short of having the support to pass their legislation, raises serious questions about whether Trump will reach his goal of ending Obamacare. Obamacare staying for now. Let's just make it very clear. No individual, I guess, doesn't really want to have the sort of politics that goes behind the scenes with this. This is not something that will look good on many individuals that are, the politicians and everyone else involved. They don't want to have anything to do with this. It doesn't look good for them. Now, I don't agree with Obamacare necessarily. I think it's a bad system. I think any system that people are forced upon is a bad idea. However, that's the system that they've tried to put in place. So, what I see here is just kicking the can down the road. They're going to have to fight back and forth, and I don't know what's going to happen, but ultimately, it's just a game of cat and mouse. Italy plots the nuclear option to send migrants north. Check this out. Senior Italian government figures have threatened to allow 200,000 migrants who have reached its shores to travel across Europe by exploiting a little-known Brussels directive as the country struggles, as the people are coming from Africa. Essentially, what they'll do is give them temporary EU visas. So if they're not going to be helped out, look, if you're not going to take some of these refugees, we're going to give them temporary EU visas and you can deal with them. Because ultimately, there were individuals that were stuck in Lake Como, the northern part of Italy where it borders with Switzerland. They got stuck there. And why? Because they simply wanted to go to Switzerland, but Switzerland shut the border and they were stuck there. So in a very small town, they had hundreds and hundreds, I think it expanded into the thousands, but anyway, of these migrants coming through. That town can't support them, and there are many more towns like that where they simply want to make their way through Italy, but they are being blocked on all borders now, and so it's really become a big problem for Italy, who simply can't support the amount of migrants that are coming through. Now, in Oregon, a state known for its avid bicycling culture, the state legislature approval of the first bike tax in the nation has fallen flat with riders. So they're going to basically tax biking. Okay, so this is the way it works. You have a problem, maybe it's a shortfall of money coming in. What do? Well, you increase taxation. That's what they believe is the solution in all cases. Every single time there's a problem, put a tax on it. Oh, you're polluting the environment? We'll put a tax on it. Oh, you're going to drive on the roads? We'll put a tax on that. You want to buy something at the store? Tax. It just goes on. Everything is a tax. But where does all this money go? You tell me it's temporary at the beginning, and then it just continues on and on. The same thing happened on Ontario here. You look at these type of taxes that are supposedly temporary, it never happens. Give it up. If they put in a tax, chances are it's going to continue. They hide the taxes. They say, we're going to bring down your taxes. That's impossible. They don't bring the taxes. They simply put them somewhere else. They can hide them onto the future, push them onto your children. Ultimately, taxes bring in money. They need more and more money. You don't ever see deleveraging doesn't exist. Tech may replace half of all low-skilled jobs in the US, something that I talk about all the time. What they're saying here is automation is likely to replace half of all the low-skilled jobs. Roughly 1 in 4 of all American jobs are at risk from foreign competition in the coming years. And that foreign competition, too, is being replaced by robotics. And we can see that in China, where I've covered it here anyway. Let's just move on. This individual, now, a lot of people keep dying every time they try to get a little too close to the Clintons. Eberwein, I probably butchered that name, but was due to appear next Tuesday before the Haitian Senate Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, where he was widely expected to testify that the Clinton Foundation misappropriated the Haiti earthquake donations from the international donors. So here he is, he's ready to testify. He's come out and suggested that, in fact, he fears for his life. And this individual, what happened to him? Well, let's look at this. Oh, you guessed it. Former Haiti government official shoots himself in the head in a Miami area hotel. Shoots himself in the head. Maybe it's real. I don't know. It happens all the time. All the time. An individual says, I'm very close to releasing information. This is going to happen. I'm going to just do this or that. And then they get Breitbarted. And that's the way it works. You get killed if you have some information and you don't bring it out publicly right away and share everything you know. That's the only way to be sure nothing will happen. If you say in the future, I'm going to release some information, in between that announcement and in between the release of that information, you will die. They will cover up your death. They will shoot you 3 times in the head and tell the public that it's a suicide. It's just the way it is. This is yet another individual who's lost his life, most likely as a result of his claims. Mosul, before and after in these satellite images. Now, if you want to see something, it's really painful to look at, in fact, but it's amazing in a different way, in a bad way. You can see what has happened to Mosul, all the war, all the destruction, and guess what? The bankers are laughing all the way to the bank. Anyway, they are making a killing. Central bankers, all of the financiers, those who are behind this system, have been funding all sides of all wars for as far back as I've seen throughout history, at least for the last couple hundred years. And you'll know that they love chaos. They love it. It's very profitable for them. So what I suggest you do, if you're interested in seeing the images here, you can see the satellite high-def images. Just go to a search engine, type in foreign policy, that's the name of this website here, and then type in Mosul before and after, and you will get this. The links were always in the description, but if you just want to search it quickly, just go to foreign policy Mosul before and after. It's quite bad to see the way this is all unfolded there. This is just one example of a country that has been really destroyed. Iraq, it doesn't matter. Afghanistan, look at Yemen. I mean, maybe they weren't necessarily first world developed nations, but they're a hell of a lot worse today than they have ever been. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. So you'll definitely want to check those out at Amazon. The links are in the description below. The first book is about the 4 asset classes and how to profit from it, whereas my new book takes on the familiar concepts, but I get into things like self-sufficiency, solar panels, and that sort of thing. So you can check that out. As I've said, take care.